Joining us this morning is an international human rights activist and the CEO of Widows and Orphans, William Devlin. Good morning, William. Thank you for joining us.
God bless you and thank you, and greetings from New York City in the USA, and appreciate you bringing attention to this very, very important case and this abuse of human rights.
All right, thank you very much. A very sad story to discuss. We're also joined this morning by legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Fred Nzako. Good morning, Fred. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. We'll begin the conversation, talking about the case. It's generated a lot of uproar on social media because, of course, the matter went through the lower courts before it got to the Supreme Court. But we'll begin with you, Fred. You are a lawyer. Talk to us about your thoughts on the case so far. Many think it is a miscarriage of justice. It's gotten to the Supreme Court. There's a petition online asking that people sign this petition saying that self-defense is not a crime. But let's get your thoughts from the legal perspective.
Well, naturally and normally in our legal system, self-defense is an alibi that should avail anybody who is accused of murder or even of manslaughter. Because a man is not expected to stand idly by and get his head cut off while he has the opportunity and the capacity to defend himself against an assailant. So that is provided in our law. But with the measure of self-defense is also to be determined whether the defensive mechanism was proportionate to the assault or disproportionate to the assault. And if in the opinion of the court that the self-defense mechanism or approach adopted by the victim of an assault is proportionate to the reaction, and in that case, the alibi can now stand. But if the court feels that the self-defense mechanism is not proportionate to the action of the assailant, then the court may call the one who is defending himself out to further questioning. The challenge we have in this matter is that we do not, as members of the public, know the exact issues that were placed before the court. And now the judgment has become not only a matter of social interpretation, but has also become a matter of even religious understanding and issues about interpretation based on the sectional interests of Nigerians. Now, many people are saying a Fulani herdsman, because we know that many challenges between the herders and the farmers arose out of the inordinate assault by the marauding herdsmen who usually like to dispossess the farmers of their land or even trample on their crops with their cattle. And it has always raised issues and raised problems. On account of such information at the back of Nigerians' mindset, they feel that the herdsman was the one who assaulted and tried to assail the victim, Mr. Jackson. And Mr. Jackson, in a bid to defend himself, in the process, killed the herdsman. I do not know exactly the issues that were tabled before the High Court. For the High Court to have found him guilty, I do not know what we are tabled before the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. And for the matter to go up to the Supreme Court level, a lot of things were going around my mind, and I'm sure that such things run around in the minds of many Nigerians. Did Mr. Jackson get adequate legal representation? Did he have the money and the wherewithal to hire a good lawyer to present his case well? Or did he, another question is, was he found guilty on account of poor legal representation, possibly on issues of technicality or otherwise?
Mr. Nzako, is that a possibility? Is that a possibility that he could have gotten poor legal representation and that could have led to the judgment that we now see?
Yes, those are possibilities that are worrying my mind. And
if that's a possibility,
yes, it's a possibility.
Is it also
a possibility that if one?
Is it also a concern to to look at the fact that he was detained, the way in which he was detained for years? The pre-trial detention might also be interpreted as a miscarriage of justice. Is that also something to look at?
In human rights community, detention without trial amounts to abuse of the fundamental rights of the citizen. And even in our constitutional jurisprudence, one is not supposed to be detained without trial. And that is why we keep shouting about the number of inmates awaiting trial in the various courts. In your newspaper review, you talked about it, and it is a very terrible sour point in our in judicial system. And that is why even the Administration of Criminal Justice Act tried to minimize the amount of time spent during trial, and also try to ensure that so many people are brought before the court for any act of any accusation, so that they will face their day in court. Because justice delayed is obviously justice denied, and it is not good for human sentimentality that somebody will be detained without trial. The person does not know his fate, whether he'll be freed or not. So that is one aspect of it. But in all manner of approaches, the way anyhow you look at it, people are now saying that most likely that Mr. Jackson did not get proper legal representation. And we said that's also possible. But whether it was a political judgment, that is one way. What we must be sure that we don't accuse the court of delivering political judgment because a farmer and a herdsman was involved. Because if you go to the social media, so many people are saying, oh, the farmer was sentenced to death because he killed a herdsman. That if it was the other way around, the herdsman would not have been sentenced to death. Yet again, it is a social problem that Nigeria has not been able to fully grapple with and find solution towards. And that is why those of us who are development economists and who want to look at the issues from the broad perspective will always ask that the government should, as a matter of policy, ensure that ranching is introduced and made to be effective in our environment, so that this migration of cattle from one point to another, leading to issues similar to that of Jackson, will be stopped. Mr.
All right,
Jackson
let's
is
Thank
now,
you, Mr. Nziako. I would like to bring in William Devlin into the conversation. Now, you've followed this case, and in close quarters, I believe you've met Mr. Sunday Jackson. Your co-panelist did raise many pertinent questions about, the possibility of not having adequate legal representation. Could you tell us what you know about the case of Sunday Jackson and how you got involved in it?
Yes, of course, and God bless you. And Sunday Jackson is an innocent man. This Sunday Jackson, this brother in Jesus, Messiah, was farming, a college student, minding his own business, and this Fulani herdsman came upon the property and attempted to trample the crops of Sunday Jackson, who was minding his own business. These two men did not know one another. And Sunday Jackson said, look, please get your cows out of here. And I heard that from Sunday Jackson's own lips when I visited him in Yola, in the Adamawa State Prison there in Nigeria on February the 19th, 2021. And then when the farmer, Sunday Jackson, this innocent man, said to the herdsman, please leave. And then the herdsman pulled out a knife and began pursuing Sunday Jackson, stabbed him twice, once in the leg. So then therefore a fight ensued. And this is clearly a slam dunk case of self-defense. Self-defense. There's Sunday Jackson, this innocent man, minding his own business. And it's also a Muslim on Christian crime. And he knew that Sunday Jackson was a Christian. So it's not just farmers and herders, it's also persecution. And not only was Sunday Jackson persecuted that day, and of course, any one of us that would be attacked by an armed assailant would want to run. And after you're stabbed in the leg and then you can't run, this is a miscarriage of justice.